Okay, the last video I made about why I do not like Chris or Kathryn, I kind of had to stop because these types of things can get really hard. Anyway, after Chris and Kathryn blamed me for slashing their tires, I went over to Roosevelt to confront Chris to talk to him. Now, we had a rather discomforting talk because there were two basically security guards at Roosevelt who were side Chris. And they told me to sit down, and basically it was more like an interrogation than it was a conversation. And not only did that, after the conversation, they completely threw away my rights, even though I showed no aggression or physical threatening means towards them. They threw away my rights and kicked me out of the building. Now, that is technically illegal to just throw someone out of a building because you think that they are a bad person. That's fucking illegal, assholes. And you call me delusional for being pissed off? For being really deeply disturbed and upset because of you. Not because of my issues, but because of you fuckers, Chris and Kathryn. Now, after that conversation and being kicked out, I just went, what the hell? And I just walked home in the pouring rain. And because I don't mind a bit of rain and walking. In fact, I think buses and cars are a fucking waste of money. Anyway, before all of this, Kathryn, she is really distraught, delusional, and a bit paranoid herself. So she knew she couldn't technically throw me in jail for suspicion of destruction of property, which she had no physical proof or evidence, and yet she called the police and they came and talked to me, and we actually had a pretty nice conversation. But no, I did not slash their tires. Me and the police officers had a really nice conversation. Anyways, if you ask anyone that I've come into contact, I've not shown any physical signs of actually being delusional, paranoid, or schizophrenic. And besides, after the police officers, they decided to call a psychiatric person who came to my door, or right before I was going to bed, because I stay up all night, usually finding things that I could make the next day, like metal wire, for instance. And these assholes did not explain to me who they were or what they were doing. So I just told them to fuck off, closed the door, and went back to bed. About 11 hours later, I get another knock on the door, and there are police officers there. And their right hands were on their gun, and I'm like, what's going on? And they said, you're going to have to come with me. And I said, why? And I look outside the window and I see an ambulance, and they're hauling me off to a psychiatric hospital for the next 72 hours for observation. Right? All because of the bitch Kathryn Kelsey's paranoid delusion. Not mine. Fine. Anyway, after spending 72 hours there and a polite but incredibly insufferable staff, the doctor I was assigned, Dr. Skolnick, physically but politely threatened to forcibly medicate me through injection if I did not cooperate, because I wasn't accepting the drugs that they were going to force upon me, because their adfects, their side effects were considerably bad. I mean, really bad. And I also asked them politely if I could have information on the medication, and I read the whole thing. I even have the paper. Anyway, after politely threatening to inject me, was I forced to accept uh, the medication. But I told him that I am not accepting this medication, but due to the circumstances of your threat against me, of forcibly injecting me, I will accept the drug on the condition that you understand that I do not take this willingly. So over the next several days, I took the pill. Well, luckily, there were no side effects. Honestly, it felt more like a placebo than anything else. I next to did not feel any side effects or change in thought at all. I still had the throbbing urge to strangle the living shit out of them and Kathryn and Chris, as I did it. But who the fucking hell wouldn't? They fucking sent me to a psychiatric hospital, right? And after the 72 hours were up, my lawyer contacted me saying that that either this is all going to go to court, or you could spend the next 14 days here under more observation. And I was like, what do you mean by court? And he said, well, just some paperwork, and you'll probably just go through. I said, you know what? Tell the judge this. Yes, I will accept the 14 days, but not because I am mentally ill, but because I'm going to show it as a testament of my cooperation, and to show that I am not these things that they claim me to be. And the 14 days went by, and I was released. And they were, well, panicked, I would say, because they did technically force a medication on me. Now, beside that, I left by taxi and went home, right? And it was a long way. But then about 10 days later, after all that happened, I was called to a hearing of a restraining order against me. Now, this restraining order was against me from the individual known as Yeju, because she wrote up this ridiculous paper about me, obsessing over her, loathing her, and doing all this crap, which was not true. And honestly, I have a video that Kathryn admits to the allegations that it wasn't me being obsessive, but it was her being obsessive. For instance, I told her, is it true that I told you repeated times that Yeju had to stop seeing me, that she needs to stay away from me? And Kathryn said, yes, that is true. It was Yeju who continuously approached on my space. And just because I reject her, constantly talk down to her, because she is really just that, a terrible individual who doesn't really accomplish anything on herself, talks a big game, thinks that she's the entire world, and basically is the equivalent to the prom bitch. Literally, equivalent to the prom bitch. Honestly, I just don't know anymore. I still feel that I was horribly wrong by the staff at Roosevelt for illegally kicking me out of Roosevelt without any probable cause. I'm still deeply upset and disturbed about how those people threatened to medicate me regardless of my pleas. And I am deeply upset about how this individual, well, known as Yeju, is a lying bitch. Literally, a lying pig of a bitch. And this restraining order is going to continue for about another 8 months, which is about the time when I'm going to do a lawsuit against Kathryn and Chris and these people who forcibly medicated me. Now, I think it's well within my right that for nearly an entire month of suffering, forced to in these basically humiliating situations of being undressed at the hospital down to the little cloths they make you wear. I mean, what kind of people do that? And what cause or right did they have to throw my rights away because of Kathryn and Chris's delusions? Now, I am honestly not surprised that Chris, a few years ago, told this girl that he loved her at Roosevelt, and he nearly got fired for that. I am honestly not surprised at that, because from what I say, he most likely did. And honestly, I am amazed that he did not get fired. Where's the justice? Well, if this doesn't go through, then justice is an illusion. And it only goes to the more capable.